podcast is to give people like yourself a platform to use their voice. So with that, Melissa, I'll let you introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and get us going here.
Well, I'm Melissa Smith. I'm a peer recovery coach for Arrow Leaf, and I'm also a person in recovery. September 8th, I picked up my 7-year coin.
Wow.
I know, it was... And
7 years.
7 years of not lying about being sober.
Yeah.
You know, because before I tried it, I was always I would get rid of like my drug of choice, but I always held on to something else. You know, like I'm sober. You know, I never was fully sober. So that was really monumental to me. And then to have my brother, who's also my brother in recovery, present me with that coin.
That's
you know,
awesome.
and he has 5 years of recovery. So
excellent.
yeah, it's really big.
I bet that was a really important moment. So what was that like when you collected that chip? Like you say, your brother's giving that to you. What did that feel like?
It felt like God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Absolutely.
And that's just, I mean, that's said a lot, but really when I get down to the heart of it, I finally just surrendered.
Yeah.
And I finally just said, this life is not working. This life is not for me. And when I gave that up, I don't know, like I just changed. And then to see my brother get out of prison and follow in my footsteps and still stay with it and still stay with learning himself and growing, to see him be able to chair that meeting and hand me that coin was just like a whole come around. You know, we used to be the family disappointments.
Yes.
And now we're not. You know, people are proud of us.
Absolutely.
Now.
Sometimes people in recovery end up carrying the banner for their family. You know, it's really an amazing full circle, like you talk about, to be in those positions. So I'm sure that was an amazing moment. So you were talking about being in AA. So this was your AA chip, right?
Yes.
So you come through the fellowships.
Oh, of course. I actually met one of your previous guests at AA. She was there on a speaker meeting night telling her story.
Okay.
And she ended up coming to another recovery committee meetings as well.
Awesome.
Touch on that as well. But I knew she was from Chicago when she spoke, you know, because that I grew up in Kankakee and stayed in Chicago in my journey we'll talk about.
Sure.
But, yeah, when I first heard her talk, I was like, oh yeah, she's from my land. You know, I know that accent.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so.
I know that accent too. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, well, I told my story at the banquet, and I remember saying, I'm in school, so we'll talk about that right now. I'm in my internship right now, getting my bachelor's degree from Murray State. I'm actually graduating with honors in December. I know, and I'm going straight to grad school, because if I don't, I won't go.
Absolutely.
I will
That was
not
what
go.
I had to do.
Yeah.
So I knew if I took a break, I was like, I'd be done. I have enough trouble with a 2-week break in between school
Right,
terms.
yes. So in schooling, I learned about the ACEs and the ACEs score. Well, I was like, well, I was set up, you know, to be. I was so predisposed to everything that would have caused me to have an addiction, and one little thing would have set me off. And that happened, you know, in my childhood. I experienced the normal. It's not normal, but I guess it's more normal. The divorce. I had a problem, or a dad who had schizophrenia as well as substance use disorder. I was sexually abused, and it wasn't properly taken care of. My mother tried the best she could with what she knew how, and tried to hold everything together when it didn't really. I don't think my mental health needs, as well as the rest of our families, were really taken care of, because that was something that was discussed behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
You know, and we don't put shame on our family name. So in my early teens, you know,
Can I hold you just up?
yeah.
So could you explain just a little bit what ACEs is? I don't think we've
It's
ever
the
talked about it on the show.
it's adverse childhood experiences. And there's a score, I think, between like 1 and 10, or maybe even more. There's more.
Sure.
Of course, I scored all of them except for I always had a home and I always had food. Those were the 2 things.
Yeah.
But everything else, I was like, check. And when our professors was asking us to talk about it, I was so ashamed. Like, they're probably not going to think I'm going to be a good social worker. I mean, and he spoke up and he said, I know a lot of you have scored pretty high. So that's probably why you're in this field.
There's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we get that superhero complex and we want to fix and help and save and rescue and
For some
power.
people, yeah, I think that it is. I know that we've got, training peers, working in this field, predominantly people a year or two in recovery, oftentimes formerly incarcerated with many of these similar experiences you're talking about. And once they get empowered, they do experience that. We talk about it as a white knight syndrome, especially with our male staff, about always just want to come charging in, to the rescue of somebody and not fully thinking about what's going on, just trying to rush in and help people, and then there's a lot of people out there that get attracted to the first responder field, law enforcement field. These are people that like to, they get a little bit of a rush out of that.
It's that adrenaline.
Yeah, saving people and, it's pretty interesting.
It is, because I tell people now my new high is helping others find their way to recovery, because I just feel like I can advocate for them and empower them and help them find the way, their own way.
Yes.
Either it be through, there's so many multiple paths, I don't forget that. I'm not out recruiting people for my AA, there's smart recovery, there's AA, there's Bible-based, whatever avenue fits you, let me help you get those resources.
Absolutely.
And that's just how I live my life.
I'm a big believer in AA. We were talking about the big book earlier today, and I told them, I said, next to the Bible, this is hands down the second best book that has ever been written on this planet. That book just is cherished within my heart. So I've incorporated several different types of pathways in my experience, because recovery's a journey, it's a process, like Sancha defines it as, and AA has been a big portion of that. The times when I was really working a program in my life, it was typically a 12-step and an AA program based around the big book, reading in the big book. Man, I love the stories and the traditions and all the principles and stuff. It's amazing how it, like you talk about, it just seems to transcend time. It's a very good book. But anyway, go ahead with your story. Sorry.
So I think we moved on to my teenage years. Yeah, because I talked about the bad childhood experiences that put me in a dangerous position for the events that were going to transpire.
Sure.
So in my teenage years, I was a typical teenager that I had uncles that thought it was fun to get their, younger nieces and nephews high, aunts as well, smoking weed with them or whatever. So that really wasn't my jam, because it made me anxious, and I could do without it.
Sure.
But in my early 20s is when I experienced opiates.
Right.
And I had a bad toothache, and my OB doctor actually gave them to me. So I had 30 of them with 3 refills. And the first time I took it, and I was pregnant, I was like, I feel like super mom, I didn't hurt. Yep. I had the euphoria. I felt like I could just conquer the world. The toddler wasn't bothering me. Being pregnant wasn't bothering me. The fact that their dad was always cheating on me. Nothing. I was just numb to everything.
Yeah.
I was just roboting, through life.
Yeah.
And those ended up, that script ended up going away. And then I worked as a CNA. And I hurt myself.
Okay.
Well, there's my golden ticket, so the doctors, and this was in the early 2000s, back when you could still get them and you could still go to multiple doctors.
That's what I was going to ask you, is what time period. I like to ask that because it's important, especially when you talk about the opioid epidemic.
Yes.
Because, man, it was wild back in those days.
It was. And I started getting them from the doctor regularly. Refills were endless, and then I started going to pain management. Yep. So I was hooked. And I didn't realize I was hooked until I ran out. And then I got sick. And I was like, oh, no, I got sick. So I got a hold of family members that I knew had them, and that's when I started getting them on the streets, selling food stamps or whatever to get them, just doing all kinds of stuff that I shouldn't have been because I needed that medicine. Yeah. And there were times that I wanted to stop so bad, but I couldn't get sick because everything that happened in my day depended on if I had medication for that day.
Absolutely, yeah.
I lost so many jobs, because if I'm puking and all that, I'm not showing up.
Right.
My skin's crawling, and then the mental stuff kicks in too when you're sick, and it was just all that. So that's when I found my love, was the opiates. I'm glad I wasn't up in Chicago area when I found them, because I probably would have been a really bad heroin addict. So that, it just kept with the opiates. That was my main thing, but I would take Adderall, Xanax, whatever. I always joked and said that Xanax should have a klepto label on them, because every time I took them, I would wake up the next day and my van would be full of laundry pods and wax melts that I would steal from the dollar store, and I was never a thief.
Laundry pods.
That was the only two things I would ever steal, and I never understood why I would get so messed up on them and go steal the stupidest stuff and have my kids with me. How sick, how sick was I? I was really, really sick. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. And this was in 2014.
Okay.
And I knew that I couldn't just keep doing this. I know that they were going to find out. And I just went to my OB and I told her, hey, I'm addicted to opiates and I don't know how to stop taking them. I've tried on my own. I've tried I'll take this many today and save the rest for tomorrow. Never worked. Tried it. I always had a plan. I'd get it
right.
It was tomorrow's the day. I'm going to quit. No, I done took tomorrows before that and without looking for more.
Yeah.
So she was cool about it. And she told me that it would be more dangerous if she took me off of them to send me into withdrawals being pregnant. So she kept me on 2 of them a day until I had my daughter, and then I was set up to meet with a social worker in the hospital and see a Suboxone doctor.
Okay.
Well, that pregnancy went okay. Everything was monitored. The social worker came in. I had my appointment set up, and I started the Suboxone. Well, once he started to taper me down, I freaked out.
Yeah.
And then I manipulated him into keeping me on it longer because I was a master manipulator. I think all addicts are, And he ended up keeping me on it. But in the meantime, I was still smoking weed.
Yeah.
When I wanted to. Taking Xanax and stealing laundry pods and wax melts. I wasn't working a program. I went to their little required groups or whatever, and I just BS my way. Because I don't think I really wanted it.
Yeah.
I just think that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I didn't want to lose her.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with the consequences, so I was only as honest. Only as honest as I needed to be legally.
Yeah.
So I didn't work that. I didn't work that correctly, and it didn't work for me. And I was still willing and dealing on the side, and I got set up by an individual in the community. He had gotten in trouble, and he set 7 of us up. And I remember one morning, it was 7 in the morning, and my 2 older boys were there, and then my baby. And my son's friends were staying the night. And I was getting ready to cook breakfast, and it's 7 in the morning, and there's beating on my door. Well, I open my door, and there's 10 DEA agents.
It was for real.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think you're at the wrong house. So no, we have a warrant for your arrest.
Yeah.
And they come in, and my kids didn't even move. They just sat there watching, Saturday morning cartoons.
Really?
And that still bothers me. How much did I expose them to where they were so desensitized that felt normal to them? Because they've seen me arrested before.
Yeah.
They've seen me messed up. So that bothers me. But then I didn't really think about it. And I remember I took Suboxone in front of the cops and 5 or 6 blue Xanaxes before I went. So when I woke up 3 days later, I'm like, oh my God, where am I? Why am I sleeping next to a toilet? what happened.
Yeah.
So I called my mom. I'll never do it again. Please bond me out. She's like, oh, no. You had all them DEA agents at your house. I had to come get your kids.
Yeah.
This is your problem. So she left me sit there for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got out, and I went to my house where I had the rest of the bottles of Xanaxes, and I took those because I didn't want to feel anymore. And I got my sentence. And I got 4 years for prison. I had turned myself in. And it was the day before my son's birthday. It was September 8th. His birthday is on September 9th. I decided I didn't want to go to prison sick.
Yeah.
So I detoxed myself at home.
Yeah.
And I went to prison sober. And honestly, hands down, prison is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay. I've heard people say that
It
before, yeah.
truly is, because when I went there, I was faced with real criminals.
Yeah.
And people that were okay with rotating back in and out, come in for a little while, come out.
Sure,
We're
they're
wa-
satisfied in a lot
Yes.
of stuff,
I'm washing my underwear in the same sink that I'm, drinking out of, and using the bathroom in front of everybody. And I remember they sent me to medical, and I was in receiving. Now, mind you, I never spent a whole lot of time in jail or even in a big jail. The most time I done was at Hardin
So this
County.
was your first offense?
Yeah, and it was a class 1 felony.
Wow.
3 of them.
Wow.
Yes.
So first offense, man, you
Mhm.
just to the door.
They threw the book at me.
I'd say they did.
Yes, it was, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because whenever we were in the receiving, they sent me to medical, because you have to get past all the tests where they put you in population.
Mhm.
And the lady's like, well, come on, we need to, you gotta put your mouth on here, we're gonna x-ray your teeth. I'm like, my teeth are fine. I don't need my teeth x-rayed. She's like, no. This is in case somebody beats you unrecognizably. We have dental records to show who you are. And I'm like, oh, I'm in big jail. Yeah, I'm in here with real killers and drug dealers. I'm not supposed to be here. And I remember sitting in the ex-house and the receiving, they kept us in there forever. I didn't get to leave that cell. I was in there with just me and my Bible and my bunkie that snored all the time. Like, I was so jealous. I'm like, how can you sleep all day, all night? And I'm just in the window, feeling sorry for myself. And I remember looking out, it was rainy one day, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, God, what did I do? Like, why am I here? Like, I was not that bad.
Yeah.
And it hit me.
Yeah.
Well, you dummy, you prayed and asked for help many a times.
Yeah.
You said, hey, get me out of this.
Yeah.
My God knew that I was not going to learn from a slap on the wrist, that I was not going to learn from probation or none of that. I had to be stripped of every worldly possession I had, down to my kids,
Right.
to learn who I was.
Yeah.
I had no idea who I was. You would have asked me 7 years ago, who is Melissa Smith? I didn't know who I was. I had no identity besides the fact that I have to have opiates to function, and I have to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
That was my identity. I had no identity.
Yeah.
I started to learn to love myself.
Okay.
Then I started to realize, I don't want to be like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to come back here again. I miss my family. I know that I have a greater purpose. So I put in for work release.
Mhm.
And I believe that my transition back into society is what helped me sustain
Okay.
the recovery life that I have.
Mhm.
Because
Sure.
when I went to work release, that's when I was introduced to meetings. Because you were required to go to, I think, 3 a week. I ended up doing like 1 every day because I wanted to get out of there.
Right.
And I had a job. And I learned how to have a job being sober.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it.
Right.
But then, I really wasn't into the self-love, and the first guy that showed me some attention, I was like, oh, he loves me, because he wants my body, he loves me. I didn't really value myself.
Sure.
So I ended up getting pregnant at work release, which is a big no-no,
I bet.
mind you. But by the grace of God, they let me stay because I didn't cause trouble. I did everything that I,
Sure.
was supposed to do. I wasn't like a rowdy inmate, as they said. So the the warden let me stay.
Yeah.
And I gave birth to my son as an inmate, but I wasn't shackled or nothing like that. My family was able to be there. My mom was.
Okay.
They drug tested him right away, which, of course, I was really into recovery then. You know, I really knew
That's good.
what I wanted. And then from there, we got to go to the Women's Treatment Center in Chicago.
Okay.
And that's when I decided that when I come home, I want to be like these women that are helping me. And Crystal actually knows Yolanda, the lady that I'm going to speak about. She passed away from COVID. And she made me really realize what I'm about to say.
Okay.
You have to put as much effort into your recovery as you did getting high.
Okay.
Because that's how you keep it.
Absolutely.
And Sam was a newborn baby. He was like maybe a week old. It was snowing in Chicago, mind you. He was born December 12th.
Yeah.
So Yolanda come in and she's like, put your coat on, get your baby. We're going across the street to an AA meeting. I'm like, ma'am, it is snowing. It's cold outside. I'm not taking my newborn baby, out there. I'm bougie now. You know?
Right.
I'm too good for that.
Too good, yeah.
She's like, Heifer, if you was going to get some pills, you would have had that baby out there with no coat on.
That's right.
And I was like, you know what?
Oh, shoot.
You are right. Yeah, I was like, you're right. So that's when I realized, I have to put as much effort into my recovery as I did getting high. And she had brought up to me, we were doing my intake, she was asking me about all the drugs that I had issues with. Have you ever done LSD? And a lot of mine were no, because I found my love opiates, and that's what I stuck with. And she looked down at her glasses, and she's like, don't think you're better than nobody else, because all you did was some pills. Yeah. I'm like, no, ma'am. No, that's not what I think. I'd already had, time under my belt. So I already knew. It doesn't matter what drug I did or didn't do. I am still an addict, just like a person that overeats or a person that gambles too much. That's just my identity. Absolutely. So I went 90 meetings in 90 days there. I got to learn how to live and take care of my son and be disciplined and have routine. And I learned all that from the women up there that started out in recovery and started helping people. And I told them when I left there, I'm going home and I'm going back to school and I want to do what you do.
Absolutely.
So I fast forward, I come home. I'm pretty sure everybody was waiting for me, to just go back out there. And I was like, oh no. I put this Melissa back together different. This is not the one that left here. So I met with all my old guys at the AA. Now, mind you, these are men that have 40, 30 years of recovery. And it's just a bunch of old men. But they're the nicest, oldest men ever. Never felt uncomfortable in their presence. And I went in there and just got home from prison. I said, I'm going to lose weight because I had eaten all my feelings. I was a biggin. Oh, yeah. I was 285 pounds when I came home. It's like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to go back to school. And I'm going to get married.
There you go.
And they're like, you're full of shit. You're piling your plate too full. Yeah. Now, when I came home, I didn't have a license because I lost that. I got in a wreck in Kentucky and never paid the restitution on it. So they put a hold on my license. So I had to either come up with $20,000 and some change. I'm like, oh. So I went and filed bankruptcy first. That was my first thing. File bankruptcy, get my license back. I don't know if you've ever filed bankruptcy.
I have.
But it requires the blood of a rare Pokemon, the hair of your firstborn. It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to go through. But I wanted it. So I did it, and I got my... Go ahead.
No. You can finish up. But what I was going to ask you was, where did you... So, you obviously have a strategy. Mm-hmm. You have a plan. It doesn't sound like you're making this up as you go when you come back home and you're working towards these goals. Yeah. So, who helped you develop that? Is that something that you developed on your own? I know you've spoken about these women in Chicago who were mentoring you and were leading you and discipling you. Did they help you with that, or is that something that you sat down and you were like, you know what, I'm going to do this?
It's something that I came up with on my own because I decided that's what I wanted to do, but it was something that they encouraged. Right. They were like, you can do that. They spoke life into it.
Yeah, sounds like peer support.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, they were my cheerleaders when I needed them. And I don't think I would have been as hyped up, and felt as strong as I did when I came home, had I not had those type of people, in my life. And I mean, actually the women that were living in that recovery home with me, they were instrumental in that, like backing. We were each other's supports when we needed each other.
Yes.
It was just a bunch of us moms.
There's a special bond.
Yes. Yes, we'd all like, hey, you want to go? We all went to meetings together. We played with our kids together. We watched each other's kids, so each of us could have some alone time. It was learning how to be a friend.
Yeah.
Because I was never a good friend. I was never a good daughter. I was never a good mother. I was never a good friend. I was me. It was always me. How is this going to benefit me? And I learned there that it's not always about me.
Right.
It's not about me. So it's about us. And we worked together.
Right.
And it was
And it sounds like in that environment, there was a lot of really good connection. That's one of the things that we like to talk about around here is about connection, promoting connection, how vital connection to a social support group. These women in your group, also with men and women in a fellowship. The women at this center, and the people that you're working with now. To me, I feel like this is the most important thing in recovery. Is surrounding people with these positive connections, reconnecting them to society. I'm sure you've probably seen the TED Talk with Johan Hari where he talks about everything you think you know about addiction is wrong. And that's what he proposes, is that the opposite of addiction is connection. So that's really, I saw that TED Talk probably 3 years ago. I was in school about a year at the time, and I was like, it was like a little light bulb went off on top of my head, and I was like, that's the core philosophy.
It's really true, though.
It is.
We were, so this morning we had our court historium meeting. And
can you explain what is R Corp?
It's the rural.
Yeah, right. That's not.
Rural Community Opioid Response Prevention. Am I saying that right?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I get lost in all of the
terminologies of it, but it's the grant that we work under to combat the opioid epidemic, as well as just the substance use epidemic, and that's where my position came from as the peer recovery coach.
Yeah.
And I really wish I could have started with them when it first got off the ground. Alicia had tried to get me to, but I was still new in school, and I wasn't ready.
Sure.
I was too anxious. I didn't feel like I knew enough. I didn't feel like I'd be beneficial. So I turned it down at the time.
Probably a good decision.
I wasn't ready. I don't think I was mature enough in my knowledge that I was gaining from school. I didn't feel confident enough, and that was a lot of it. And I just needed some more time.
It's a very smart decision.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't pause to think about where they are in their own personal development. I know one of the things that I have found, as soon as you come forward, I should say that. I said probably somebody like yourself and me have this experience that as soon as we came forward about our recovery and started talking to people, there were other groups that took us under their wing and they immediately wanted to thrust me into, like, hey, we need to talk at this meeting, we need to talk at that meeting. Fortunately, I responded well to it, and it really kind of pushed me into a new area that I probably wouldn't have entered myself. But there is a vacuum out there for those community champions who are purpose driven and who have a plan. And when they get plugged into these agencies, because I feel like oftentimes in these agencies, clinicians who maybe have never experienced what we've experienced, this journey that you and I have been on is something they read about in books. But then when they encounter, it's like encountering a unicorn in the wild, man, we got a real life community champion, a person in recovery here that can string 3 sentences together, and she's excited and enthusiastic and going places, and so they want you to, they look for that, and I know it's help motivate me to be better too.
Yeah, and I always try. I always felt like I don't want to brag about my recovery. I want to stay right sized. I want to stay humble about it. But I've learned too that getting my story out there and speaking up is helping other people.
Absolutely.
And where you're talking about the connection and the surrounding people with positive supports and whatnot, I have a client that I work with now that people who in the agency have worked with her in the past were like, oh, I don't know, I think it's just going to be harm reduction. Well, this woman is about to be, they're starting to do the reunification process through DCFS. She is active in our recovery committee. She's at our events. She is actually,
That's awesome.
stringing those sentences together and then passing the drug test and wanting to be out there and learn more and help others. And we got her home cleaned up because I stuck with her. Even when she tried to run from me, I'm like, hi, I'm here. Like, we love you.
Absolutely. I heard a task, deflection specialist or somebody like that referred to it as passionate, relentless engagement.
Yeah.
About that, just that pursuing people to make sure, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's part of what we're supposed to do as peer specialists is to get outside of the office and go get those people and be like, hey, you didn't make it to your appointment today. What's going on? Is everything okay? Can we help you get to that appointment? Can we help you get another appointment?
Yeah, it just took. She had said something to me. She's like, I couldn't do none of this without you. I'm like, you could. She's like, no. She's like, you are. Like my biggest support. She doesn't have natural support. Yeah. She doesn't have her parents. She doesn't have siblings. It was her. And she had, mental illness on top of substance use disorder. Yeah. And everyone gave up on her. Right. So her thing was she told me, I just want to push you away before I hurt you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. And she tells the new people in group, she's persistent. If you say you're going to call her, you better call her because she will call you. That's awesome. And I'm hand in hand with her a lot. And yes, she requires a lot of hands-on, but she's learning how to live in recovery. Yes. I'm being what those ladies in Chicago were to me, to the people down here. And now, I've completed every goal I've set. Yeah. I lost the weight in a healthy way. I learned a new relationship with food. I met the man of my dreams. We're amazing together. He is my person. My first healthy relationship. First, person I haven't been with that has drug problems or sold drugs or beats on me or calls me names. It's healthy, and we raise our family together, and it works really well. And I'm about to graduate Murray State with my bachelor's. Every goal that I set, I completed. My next goal is I want to own a recovery home in our community. Okay. It's needed. And I know I don't know how I'm going to learn how to write grants. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make this goal because it's needed in our area. Absolutely. It's so needed. Like, to learn how to live sober and live in recovery and have the positive people around you is so beneficial in that first year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That first year of recovery when your brain is healing. Yes. And I feel like it's so needed, and I understand why it's not, our agency has, with the job shortages and people not wanting to work or, finding employees. I understand why we haven't opened one ourselves yet. Yeah. But myself, I'm going to. Yes. So stay tuned.
I think that is what it takes is people making that decision that I'm going to do it. No offense to any agency. We have got some great allies in different agencies. They just got a different purpose, and so to them, I feel like it's not as urgent, whereas to our community, it's we have to have this. We know that we have to have this. Oftentimes I feel like people are over-reliant on treatment. We think 30, 60, 90 days in a treatment center. We think break that physical addiction of it, the physical dependency. Is enough, but what people need is that long-term support. Not to get too much into my story. Yeah, go ahead.
Quitting drugs is the easy part. Yes. Learning to live with yourself and learning who you are is the hard part. I used to think, actually here recently I decided I was ADHD. Okay. Because I would start new things and be like, I'm done with it. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not ADHD. I'm still learning what I like. Yeah. I'm trying new things because it's something I didn't do before. I got into crafting and making things. I made all kinds of stuff around my house. I'm like, this ain't long term. Yeah. Now, it was makeup, then it was hair, and I think my old man's gonna have a yard sale one day when I'm not home. Now I'm into nails.
Though? But that's normal.
Yeah.
That's what everybody
I
does. That's what
know.
people do.
I know. I didn't
When they're
know
not, when they're
that.
not spending all their time and effort pursuing drugs, or hanging out at the bar every night. People
Yeah.
develop crazy hobbies and do them ferociously for a year or two,
Yeah.
and then they're like collecting dust. A lot of people debate about the addictive personality, and I'm like, bro, I got 100% addictive personality. I don't do things like normal people
Me
do.
neither.
And I've grown a lot as a person, but I still can't. This organization is where it's at because I can't do things like normal people. I jump into stuff and I
Podcast.
people are like, things have got so big in 3 years. One thing, main thing is favored by God. But two is that relentless passion, and some of that comes from that old addictive behavior.
We don't do anything in moderation, do we?
No, I've never been good at it.
Either.
My daughter got into softball for a bunch of years, and I coached, and it was, man, we got to buy this bat, we got to buy that. She's like, Dad, I don't care about this stuff. No, you got to have this new bat, this new glove. Hey, check out this thing you can put on your hand. It'll teach you how to do this. Dad, I already know how to do that. Yeah, but this is cool.
I'm not alone. Thank you. I'm not alone.
Yeah, the only thing I haven't been good at that is like doing dishes. Apparently, I don't have an addictive personality.
Neither.
Or folding laundry.
Or running.
Yeah, or running. Oh, I know. I go to the gym. I'm not like a big getting buff kind of person.
Yeah.
I go to the gym. I walk on the treadmill. I don't run on the treadmill. I don't run. If I run, you better run faster than I am. Something's chasing me. But I do like to walk though. I like hiking. That's one of the things I love about down there around where you guys live at. It's just some of the most beautiful area down there.
The Garden of the Gods.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to go down there and hike and stuff like that.
See, I like to ride on the back of the motorcycle.
Do you?
We got a Harley.
Do you? Okay,
Yeah.
so all those windy roads down there
Yeah.
through the hills, and it's fall, leaves are starting to change colors.
Carver's Ridge Blacktop is my favorite road to go
Okay,
down
that is awesome.
because it's like the change of the temperature
Yeah.
and the scenery around you. It's like peace to me.
Yes.
And it's something I never thought I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Never. I'm like, I love my life. Like, I wouldn't trade my worst day ever in recovery for the best day of getting high.
Absolutely.
Never. I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
I don't wake up every day sick.
Yeah.
I don't wake up chasing pills. I wake up chasing people.
Yeah.
Like, let me help you. Like, let's come to this side. Man, I know where the cool kids hang out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my new thing.
You talked about developing healthy relationships with food.
Mhm.
What was that like?
Well, I was an emotional eater.
Okay.
I ate when I was happy, when I was sad. I traded. I think I got the same like endorphin release when I was
Sure.
eating. And then I decided I went to the doctor in Harvard County. And I was like, I want to lose weight. He's like, well, I can give you Adipex. I said, I just told you that I was a recovering drug
I'll
addict.
tell Adipex is
Yeah,
for real
I was
too.
like, and you want to offer me a
stimulant.
stimulant? He's like,
Yeah.
well, it's not a narcotic. I'm like, no.
Man,
Can I get some like dietitian, something just to help? So then I decided I was going to SIC at the time, and I hired one of the guys in there to be my trainer. Oh my God, he killed me. I felt like a baby deer walking down the steps. Like my legs were like shaking. I'm sorry. It was so bad. But I cut out all the carbs, all the sugar. I did like a ketogenic diet. And I was strict for like 2 years.
One of my staff is doing that, and she has done phenomenal. We were actually joking about it the other day. She's the people have accused her of returning to use because she's lost so much weight. She's thinned out so much. And she says the crazy thing is it's all completely healthy and natural.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know, especially for women accomplishing stuff like that. Even as a man, I struggle with my weight and the way my body looks. Otherwise I wouldn't be up in the morning going to the gym. Yeah. So it's important to have that healthy relationship with food. Especially like people can go to the gym all they want, but if you don't have a healthy diet, people underestimate how poor our diet is. And I know people point to obesity. But we are depriving our brain of very important nutrients in our body of all of these micronutrients and stuff that we need to function perfectly. And then we get into all these high rates of cancer and heart disease and all of these other things. But if people can learn to eat a healthy diet that just promotes it has so many impacts on your mood, depression, energy levels. not that I'm not, like I said, obviously not some super dietitian or not, but one of the things that I think that is neglected in recovery is people talking about that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we try to talk about is how do we address a person's needs holistically, and that diet is a very important aspect of it. Drinking plenty of water, making sure you're hydrated. Your brain needs so much water just to survive.
Yeah.
And we drink a lot of soda and stuff, and that brain's up there just struggling,
Right, like give me some water. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated water.
Yeah.
But now it's my favorite drink.
I know. That's what I like to drink a lot of water too. I like to drink a lot of coffee now. Coffee's my new thing. So also talk about, if you don't mind, a little bit, expand a little bit on what it was like developing healthy relationships, with men and friendships, and just, 'cause it's so important. We don't realize, we get used to living a certain way in addiction. When we come out of that, learning how to have regular, normal relationships, how to relate like healthy people do, is a challenge.
It really is. I actually struggled a lot with my mom when I came home.
Yeah.
Because I feel like me and my brother made her become like codependent.
Sure.
Like an enabler.
Like
she,
conditioning.
yes, yeah. We conditioned her to pick up our pieces when we all fell apart. She was always there, that savior, make sure everything was fine.
Yeah.
And when I came home, the dynamics between us changed. Her role changed.
Yeah.
So it was tension. Like she wanted to micromanage everything. And I'm like, no, I'm self-supporting. I am, I'm a big girl now. I'm clean. I want to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And it was really a lot of pull there. And I've also learned the more in my schooling that my family's pretty toxic.
Yeah.
It is. And I have to keep them at arm's length sometimes because I'm not okay with how my children get treated or how I'm treated because I have boundaries now.
Yes.
And I am deserving to be respected and talked to respectfully and treated in a way. And then when I'm not, then that's it.
Absolutely.
If you're not healthy for me, you have to leave because I don't involve in that
Yeah.
anymore.
I grew up in South Georgia, and my family's a long ways away from me. And we're, everybody thinks when you come back to recovery, get in recovery, everybody talks about restoring all those relationships, like it's this big flowery thing. I did not have that experience.
It's really
And my family and we have a good relationship, and I think that we really tried. But they're just nut. I feel like, and I blame myself personally for it because of my past. When I was a kid, I was a horrible kid then. It was like you're talking about conditioning your parents. So in a lot of ways, I don't forgive them. But it just seemed like that bond never came back. We barely ever talk. And it's mutual. They live 10 hours away from us. We don't go visit a lot. For me, one of the biggest things that makes me feel like is I feel like I get put back in that box. One of the big reasons why I don't like to go back and visit my hometown is because I still feel like people see the Mike Tyson that was there 20 years ago, or really 25 years ago now. And maybe that's me, but I feel like, and then when I go there and I see people, they always want to talk about that time back in 1998 or something like that, I'm like, man, I'm so far past that. So I say away, we don't keep our distance intentionally, but we're just not that close. And it's kind of the same way. I mean, it's like, man, you talk about going to school. Going to school has been very important to me. Like, if I'm telling my story, that is typically where I really tear up at.
Yeah.
Because having a GED most of my life, because I was so bad that they didn't want me back in high school, and always feeling like that really limited me to now having a degree in something. And like you talked about earlier, when you graduating with honors is so amazing. It's like you didn't just barely make it. You exceeded expectations, even for normal college students.
I put my blood, sweat, many tears
I bet.
into that. And this internship made me feel like have I even been in school this whole time? Like, I feel like everything's new because I have hard professors. I chose Murray State for a reason.
Yeah.
Their social work program is amazing, and you're going to know your stuff, you know, when you graduate. And my professors are on that, and I love them for that, but then they also scare me. So I'm so, like... So have you ever, like, talked to someone and you didn't feel smart enough to talk to them?
Oh, my gosh, all the time. Yeah.
Yes. So that's how Dr. Monk is.
Yeah.
She's, like, in her 80s. She's, like, got multiple PhDs.
Uh-huh.
And we have great conversation, but I always feel, and I think that's a lot to do with being an addict and thinking that you're lesser
Yes,
than.
it is.
Is I didn't feel like I was smart enough to talk to her. And my supervisor pointed out to me, she's like, you are smart enough to talk to her. You might not be as well rehearsed in certain subjects as her, but you are smart enough to talk to her. And I love my supervisor for that. She is my support, you know, like she kicks me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm doing this podcast for one, because I feel like my story needs to be out there.
Absolutely.
But for two, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, we have to, every time I've grown, it's when I've done stuff that I didn't want to do. You know how many times I wanted to message you today, like, I don't know, like, I can't make it. But I was like, no, you're doing this. You know, you're going to do this.
I do that a lot.
I do. I want to back out. And it's not
a lot of things.
to, like, be intentionally. I think it's that fear of not being good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to mess it all up.
I do that. I back out of a lot of things. I should say not so much now, but especially when I was younger. Like, even and it seems crazy, but like as the events would get closer, I would develop that internal anxiety, would start building up about things, and I'd start looking for reasons, like stupid stuff that I would enjoy. You know, when it would come down to time, I'd be like, I gotta get out of this. You know, I don't know if it was fear of commitment or whatever. I'm not so bad about it now, but I do have to force myself. And I don't feel like it's because I don't have commitment or don't have follow through. I think it's just going and doing the darn thing sometimes. That is
it's just getting there. It's just the getting there.
Yeah. And recovery work, I like it a lot. Like ministry work is that no matter how bad you do, everybody's going to pat you on the back and tell you did a great job. You know, but still I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I go up here and suck? What's going to happen? And just everything.
Well, you
so I'm glad you didn't back out.
You seen me before the banquet, and I was like, can't do this. I'm going to throw up.
You did
And after I was done, I was like, that was not bad at all. See, that's Alicia, though. I feel like she's like, I'm the Sparta, you know, like kicking off into the big circle thing down there, because she pushes me out of my comfort zone so much, and I hate her for it at the time. But afterwards, I'm like, thank you, you know, thank you.
What is it like working in, coming from your background and then working in a professional clinical setting? Because that's something that I have never experienced. I've never worked in a clinical setting.
Let me tell you about the hiring.
Okay,
so everyone knew, I think, but a few people, that I have a class 1 felony. You know, my background is, when you look me up, it's not that good, you know. So when I went in for the orientation, I'd already been hired, you know, and the 2 ladies that were doing the administrative, you know, work, she come out and she was like, sat at the table, she's like, do you know what's on your background? And I just started laughing, you know. They were scared to say it to me, you know, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I know about those felonies. I was like, we know about that. Alicia knew about that. Everyone knew about that before they hired me. And she was like, okay, well, we have to, like, do some processes, you know. So there's a waiver. You have to go. And I have a phone appointment for Lana Lincoln to get my record sealed. But even then, after it's sealed, like, jobs they can still see that.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's a weird thing. There's a little mythology around that. It's not like what people think.
I know. People think it's sealed, that's done. No. But I went through, I filled out all the paperwork. I had to get letters of, reference letters from people. I had to get, you know, all kinds of stuff wrote out to apply for this waiver. But I wanted it. So when someone really wants something, they do it.
You seem like the kind of person
they do it. I was like, tell me what I need to do. We'll get this done. So I had to do it for the Illinois, and I got approved. And I mean, I overnighted that. I went to the post office and paid like $27. Like, I want them to get this the next day, and they need to sign for it. Yeah, I'm like, so hurry up, because I'm ready to start working. And then we done it for the DCFS as well. But I think my openness about it really set the stage for how it was handled. And plus, in our line of work, that's going to be found. People are going to have records. Yeah, people are going to have records, and there's a process. And if you go through the process, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it was worth it.
We've had a lot of conversations about that process, ironically enough, lately. So one of the projects that myself and some of our staff are involved in is a CRSS training program. We're training peer professionals. We originally. The program, the students were supposed to get college credit through a local university. That university, once they found out that we had some felons in there, not like I got a felony, but it's like stealing stuff back in 1994 felony. Now, we had people in there with some serious stuff, and they were like, we can't let these people in the program, and so we work with such a great crew at Southern Illinois, at SIU Med. We've had such a great relationship then, and they're the ones that have been really the driving force behind this training program, and they stood up for our students, and they were like, we're not going to exclude these people because of their past. This is what they're here to do, is move past that and be empowered to be professionals. So they pulled the program from the college, put it into a different workforce development program, which is at a community college, just doesn't have the college credit. But we were able to keep all of our students, and we didn't have to say, hey, some of you guys get college credit, some of you don't, because of your past, because we spend so much time talking about people having a new life, being new creations, all these things. But there are still so many barriers to people moving forward. And I think that is one of the hardest things it is to explain to regular community members, is that when you get all of these things, all of this stuff on your back, moving forward with your life is not that easy. You can't get a job. I don't care what anybody says about anything out there, housing or whatever. If people can't get good jobs, recovery is almost impossible.
Absolutely. You can't meet your first level of Maslow needs if you don't have a job.
No.
I mean, that's...
So having these conversations, talking about stuff like that, letting people see that, even in peer work, working sometimes with agencies and clinicians, there's still a stigma with peers about what we're supposed to be like, what we're supposed to look like, what we're supposed to work like. There's a lot of skepticism, even in spaces that are supposed to be designed for us. And then there are those of us that come along and we blow away all those expectations and we exceed what other people are doing. Sometimes it intimidates some people in those settings. Some people are always have that stigma and that barrier up. But working to remove those barriers for people across the state, there's a large initiative. I went to RecoverCon up in Dixon, Illinois, last weekend. A big project that they were talking about was a Recovery Ready Workforce Illinois, Recovery Ready Workplace Illinois. Talking about removing some of those barriers from people getting good jobs. I think there was a policy maker there from the state. He was talking about how something that they're working on getting passed is like a tax credit for employers that employ people who are willing to disclose that they're in recovery. And getting those economic opportunities and job opportunities is so important for our people. There's so many of us out there that can do great things. I never thought I would have been a college graduate.
Me neither.
And right now, working on my master's, if you would have talked to me 5 or 6 years ago, nothing about coal miners, I would have referred myself as a dumb coal miner. And I was at 42 years old, and I had a good life in recovery and everything. But over the last 4 or 5 years, we talk about the length of how long it takes people to recover. Some of us come from so far behind. It takes a lot longer for us just to get back to ground zero. I feel like it took me about 18 years to really heal from some of those adverse child experiences. Most of mine started in my childhood too. But that was when I was able to start going to school. It was like something finally clicked. I was able to start going to school. I was able to start putting this not-for-profit together. I've never been able to. For one thing, I've never been committed to anything for more than a year or two. You know, so start building projects, multiple projects, working with people. And there was something that you said at the beginning of it that really I feel like helped me do that. And that was the surrendering to other people, realizing that everything didn't have to be Mike Tyson's way, that this was a community thing, that other people had to have their way also. And it really, I feel like, enabled me to really take this to the next level.
That's what we're working on right now with our recovery committee.
Yeah.
That we've started, and that's with just members of the community, either in recovery or not in recovery, that are we're trying to bridge that gap from the people in recovery back into the community, remove that stigma, having healthy, sober events. And we had some movie nights, and
I saw that.
Yeah.
What did you guys watch?
Well, the first time we watched Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
And the new Spider-Man, Homecoming, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, not new Spider-Man. Then we watched Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, yeah, the new Buzz Lightyear,
Yes.
like the one where it's like live action or whatever.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I was like, no, Buzz, don't do that. You know, I was like a big old kid.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was just so nice, like sitting out there and seeing the stars, and I was like, there's an alien out there. You know, just doing that weird stuff, just enjoying it, and being sober, and seeing that client that I talked about show up like, hey, can I serve the hot dogs, you know, and just seeing the people come together.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of kids showed up, and I kind of got my feelings hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But then a lady had came and was like, hey, so and so told me about you, that you're a peer recovery coach and you're someone that I can talk to, and I'm like, oh yes, we had a great conversation. I invited her, so even if no one showed up, meeting that woman, for her to be like, are you Melissa? Like, yes, that's me. That's me. I love you. Let me in. But anyways, me and Alicia were
looking for something.
not the police looking for you, right? So, me and Alicia were talking today, and we're going to be doing a new survey on like a community needs assessment.
Okay.
And I mentioned, why don't we put a question in there about what would the community like to see happen event-wise?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we plan all this stuff that I think is great.
Yeah.
But what do they want? What is that? What they want? I know some of our recovery committees, what we're focusing on next is a financial class.
Oh, yeah.
Because how many of us in addiction worried about financing, worried about budgeting, worried about terminology, like what was that term? Was that refinancing?
Sure.
What's that word where you get a cheaper car payment?
I think you refinance.
Stuff like that. I don't even know that terminology.
Yeah.
Because back in my addiction, I only cared about if I had enough medication for that day. And if the light bill didn't get paid, that's fine. Because Mama had to have her meds. So, that's about the extent that I cared. So this would be a skill that I think would be beneficial for a lot of people to learn. And hopefully that they will show up to these classes and our committee can work on themes, for the different classes. But I really am interested in what our community would like. What can we set the stage for and put together that you guys would like to come to, instead of it being what we think is good?
Absolutely. One of the things that we have coming up in October is a town hall listening session in one of our small communities. And part of that is to see, one of the things that we talk a lot about is the participatory process. Getting feedback from our staff on what we should be doing, because our staff really drive all of our programming. It's not me. It's what our staff want. But getting that feedback from the community, what do you guys feel like? What issues are you dealing with? Because Mike Tyson deals with some completely different issues. Yeah. But what are you dealing with? That's what we need to read. And there's such diversity. I know people think that Southern Illinois is pretty much the same. There's a lot of diversity between our communities down here. And in West Frankfort, I can't sit here and talk about what the community needs down in Cairo, or down in Metropolis or E-Town or Shawneetown. But somebody in that community can tell me what they need, and then to be able to pull them into that process gives them ownership of it. They feel like they're a part of it, and it makes the community feel better. And I think that's where, especially in the recovery space, things are headed. Is listening to people, let them tell them where most of the time it's always been people telling us what we needed.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't really speak for ourselves, besides like getting what we wanted.
Yeah.
And our biggest thing that our recovery committee is working on now, and the husband and wife that I told you about are like my right hand when it comes to this committee. They're there for every event. They're there to help, put up, tear down, whatever. They are there. And we developed this ideal to make recovery kits.
Okay.
And we have backpacks, like drawstring backpacks that say recovery is possible on it. And we're filling them with hygiene products, snacks, a snapshot of our Arrowleaf services, resources, meetings. Another one of our committee members wrote a beautiful letter stating what our committee is, what numbers, some encouragement.
Yeah.
And just Narcan.
Man, it sounds like you guys are having almost the same conversation.
Yeah, really.
We were like in our resource center in West Frankfort like 2 days ago. One of my staff come in, and we've done this before.
Are you
putting these
spying
packs
on
together.
us?
I think maybe that's why. Well, maybe it's this vibe that's being.
I know.
Because man, Southern Illinois is a buzz with this stuff right now.
It is.
But that's awesome. Getting those resources out to people like that. In a package like you talk about, that's kind of appealing.
Hats,
yeah.
And our target area is people coming home on parole.
Okay.
That, give them to the parole officers so they can give them to their parolees,
Yeah, no, you're right.
I could keep talking all night now. When I talk about recovery, I'm talking.
No, you're right.
But give them to the people coming home from parole or coming home from rehabs that don't really, creating that warm handoff. Like they open that bag up and they read that letter of encouragement from another person in recovery.
Absolutely.
And got their M&Ms and their little snacky cakes and body shampoos and stuff. They're like, oh, well, I can call this person if I need, or here's a meeting, here. I just think that's great.
Absolutely. We did this program last Christmas called Christmas Care Packages in the Franklin County Jail where our staff got to go around to different places and get donations, and then we put together packets and handed them to all the residents there. And it was, considering that most of our staff are formerly incarcerated, it was like a powerful moment for them. And for the residents, it was like, man, somebody actually cares.
Yes.
Somebody,
they have someone.
And here's somebody that knows that has been where I've been. So it was a really powerful moment. So you guys are working on these packs. Do you guys have anything else big coming up down there?
Not yet. I'm doing face painting again at the
Okay.
Flores Bar on Saturday.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really.
How's Recovery Month been?
It's been really good. We had the movie night. We've done the Shrimp Fest. We're doing the Flores Bar. We're doing the 5K walk with Southern 7 on Saturday.
Okay.
I'm a water girl because I'm not running or walking. I will hand water out.
So we did our recovery walk, and people were like, "How long we got?"
Right.
I'm like, it's not a 5K or anything. It's like a unity thing, not really a.
I asked Alicia, I'm like, do I have to run or walk? Because I don't run unless I'm being chased. And then I'm sizing up who's chasing me.
That's absolutely right. Well, Melissa, I really appreciate you coming up here tonight and spending some time with us. I hope to get you back on here again sometime.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
You've obviously got a great story. You've obviously got a great future ahead of you. I can't wait to see. I know ever since I met you, I've been very impressed by not only where you come from, but the things that you've accomplished, and just can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future going forward.
Awesome.
We look forward to hearing about all the work you guys are doing.
I'm happy to be part of this coalition, with you.
I appreciate it.
We're knights out there.
Absolutely, we are.
Trying to combat
this is our community.
It is. And we have to fix it.
Absolutely. Like you talked about with those recovery homes,
Yes.
We have a different passion and different burning desire than what other people do. And we're moving to the same thing next year. We're going to open up 2 recovery homes. We're going to do it.
Good. I'll pick your brain when it's my turn.
There you go. Well, you might be able to give me some ideas. But like I said, I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.